Let me call now Werner Vogels, Dr. Werner Vogels, and Kara Swisher again on stage. Thank you very much, Werner. Welcome, and the stage is yours. Oops.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, it's delightfully warm today.
At least it's warm.
It's warm in here, at least.
Good.
Anyway, this is an interview I'm really looking forward to because for all the hype and froth that comes out of Silicon Valley, what they're doing at Amazon is really a very important trend that's going to be global, I think. Let's talk just very quickly, and I'm not entirely enthusiastic about a lot of stuff that comes out of Silicon Valley, so for me to say that, it's a big deal. Talk about what you announced today, just because it has to do with Europe.
Okay, so today we launched Amazon EC2 in Europe. It's probably one of the things that was highest on the list of our customers that they wanted to see come out of us. Before this, EC2, Amazon EC2 is the Elastic Compute Cloud, which provides you with virtual machine compute capabilities. Now it's also possible to run that here in Europe, which gives you low latency to your customers here in Europe, low latency access to Amazon S3, the storage system that's here in Europe. And so we're very happy to announce that today. It's being launched in 2 availability zones. That means that you can also build high available applications here in Europe that can fail over in case of all sorts of disaster scenarios. And we're happy to have knocked off the #1 customer request on the list that was there.
Okay, let's talk about the idea of cloud computing. Now, again, in Silicon Valley, there's always buzzwords, and cloud computing is this year's. After social networking was last year's cloud computing. Everybody has a cloud computing thing, but you guys have been building it for several years. Explain why Amazon, I mean, most people would assume Microsoft or Google would be the dominant leaders in this space. Why did you begin to do this?
Okay, now, first of all, we're not a Silicon Valley company.
No, I know, you're Seattle.
So we're in the tech north, so that's good enough. So the origin of what we did at Amazon had to do with our own needs. We had been building a very large compute environment for our retail operation. And there we started to notice that many of our engineers are spending a lot of time on doing infrastructure work. And so in a sort of traditional architecture, enterprise architecture way, we started analyzing what it was that they were spending most of their time on, and it's turned out to be very low-level services. So we decided to drop that into a shared services platform and build that with our own technology, which we knew how to do it, very scalable, highly reliable, and so have the real good building blocks for our own engineers to work with. And then, just like we've looked at other pieces of Amazon that we've opened up to the outside world, whether it's enterprise services, our e-commerce services, fulfillment, we also started realizing that those low-level technologies were really unique in the way that we build them. And as such, we also started to opening up for external users.
So, but Amazon, I mean, people know Amazon is right now buying stuff at Christmas, being a retailer. Could this become a bigger business from Amazon than selling, I don't know, socks and books and all the things you sell?
It's of course very hard to predict what's going to happen in the future. I hope that Amazon.com as a retailer grows as fast as we've been growing and continue to grow. But this is definitely a meaningful business for us.
So when you say meaningful, how do you expect, I mean, who are your biggest competitors in the space? How would you look at it?
Actually, at this moment, I don't think there are 2 competitors out there that have a viable commercial solution of the reliability and the scale that we are offering.
Well,
Will there be? Yes, absolutely. We've always believed that there will be competitors out there. But there will be a number of points on which all the competitors will be marked. You know, how scalable are you? How secure are you? You know, what is the reliability that you're offering? And you can expect that, you know, there's some sort of matrix on which customers can start choosing which provider they will use.
Who do you imagine would be a competitor? I mean, Google comes to mind because they have servers worldwide, global servers.
It's hard to look in the minds of other companies. One of the things I think that made Amazon really suitable in building this technology was that we do have an e-commerce background. That means that low margins are very important for us, and that we've always built technology that can really support a low margin business. And to really offer these kind of services as a pay-as-you-go service to developers, you need to be able to really drive costs to the floor in a very reliable manner, and that's one of our expertises.
Now, one of the issues is being, besides latency and other issues, is being reliable. You had a few breakdowns. How are you building out now differently than before? If all these businesses are relying on you, storing everything, doing things, what keeps you up at night?
Of course, we will not be satisfied until reliability is indistinguishable from perfect. Yeah, there's no excuse for any downtime or for any failure that will happen. So continuously, we're looking at our software, we're improving our software, we're improving our hardware infrastructure to make sure that no 100% availability is the only goal that you can have. And so, yeah, we continue to investigate, even the smallest disturbances, even if customers are not really exposed to them, and make sure that the root causes of those get fixed.
And where do you imagine expanding? I mean, could you get it? I mean, Google's been trying to do software in the cloud. We have Salesforce. We have all sorts of companies that are trying to do these things. Would you be a company that would do this, provide software in the cloud to people, provide those kind of things?
So I like to look at it as a three-layered model. So at the bottom is infrastructure as a service. That's what Amazon does now. On top of that, there's platform as a service, which is the infrastructure pieces that many companies can deliver on top of this. Programming models, maybe the old-fashioned middleware industry could play a role there. But also many startups are out there at the moment, such as Heroku, for example, that provides Ruby on Rails as a service to folks. And then on top of that, you'll have the software as a service business. But of course, that's a business that has existed for a long time already. And I think most of the things that we've learned from software as a service are sort of the precursors to the whole cloud computing effort, together with standard protocols around service orientation and HTTP and XML and things like that. As well.
You guys are offering movies, you're offering music now through the Amazon service, you're offering all kinds of, I mean, something we talked about backstage is the idea that you could offer this that someday everyone will have this universal jukebox, they live in the cloud, everybody lives in this cloud, there is no software per se, and that everything is stored up there. Could you imagine, I don't own any movie program.
Absolutely. I think one of the most surprising things is that if you use our services, you don't have to tell us why you use them for. So one of the biggest surprising things is when actually our customers, which are developers, come to us and explain what they're actually using our services for. And there's such a wide variety of applications out there, it's unbelievable. Will Amazon ever offer that?
I mean, you don't want to necessarily compete with your customers.
In essence, I think the way that we've treated until now is that we really expose those pieces that we are uniquely good at. And most of those have been at a lower level in the stack, in the infrastructure space. And it's also mainly driven by what customers are asking us. And for example, we've announced that beginning of next year, we'll delivering an auto-scaling service, a load balancing and monitoring service. That's already a little bit further up in the stack, and we expect that there will be multiple offerings, not just Amazon offering, but multiple offerings where customers can choose from, which is good. Whether we will go up in the stack will depend a lot on whether we have unique technology to offer there, and whether customers are actually asking us for it.
So, meaning you could go all the way up to the top. I mean, ultimately, that's where most people like to live. But you do already offer these things that are now high bandwidth.
Sure.
Where people could own it and never own it, for example.
Yes, but those are maybe more applications in the Amazon.com space as a retailer, which I see as a sort of a different part of the stack.
How does it work? What's the difference? How do the businesses?
In essence, you see there's a big e-commerce platform which is used by a large number of e-commerce operations, not just Amazon.com, but also Marks & Spencer's, Target, many other very large enterprise e-commerce operations. They run over an e-commerce platform, and that e-commerce platform again uses the Amazon Web Services at their basis. So you can see Amazon.com as being a very large enterprise application, and with many consumer applications included there. So yes, definitely very new applications can be developed there easily because this lower level technology makes it easy to experiment.
Do you imagine a day when Amazon isn't actually selling stuff more? They're selling fake, I don't know, vapor stuff versus things.
Digital goods versus...
Digital goods versus... I mean, you've started with a Kindle, which is a thing, actually, a device to be...
But it's a platform. You should see the Kindle as a platform, just as that, I think other goods are also a platform.
When does that surpass things? Like, I mean, you can see it in music now, right?
I don't know. I find it very hard to predict the future in that sense. But do I think that the future is digital? Yes, absolutely. The reason why we are selling these goods at this moment and making such a good push for it is because we believe it will be a very important role in people's lives in the future. And we need to gain experience with how customers are using those, and that's why we're pushing fastly ahead there.
How has the experiment with, music is something that people are very used to. How are the experiments with movies and things going? Obviously, Hollywood's its own.
I think I'm the wrong person to ask that question. I'm the technologist. So
all right, in a
let me focus on
technology
that one.
sense, they want them to be protected. They want them to be easily available. They want it to work. I mean, I know there was just some recent stuff with TiVo that was very jumpy, and with Apple TV. How does that become something that becomes almost seamless for people in experience?
I just, invest a lot of effort and technology in there to make sure that we really understand what the customer experience is. I think that's something that we've always been good at, of really measuring what the performance for the customer is, what the experience for the customer is, and then continuously improving that. You have to make sure that the customer is continuously in the loop. But the same thing goes for our web services also. We continuously talk to our customers and let them also drive our agenda.
So what is the next trend in that idea of web services? Just more of the same, more servers, more around
I don't
the
know,
country?
this is, if you look at the whole cloud computing, if you look 2 years ago, there was this interview with Jeff on, in Business Week. It said Amazon's risky bet.
Right.
At 2 years ago, people were still completely amazed that this was going on. Now we're 2 years further down the road, and here in the hall, there are many startups and many enterprises also that deliver products that could not live without cloud computing.
Right.
Yeah, if it's especially these days, I think where economic times are a bit more grim, and where massive upfront investments in getting products off the ground, whether it's enterprise-wise or whether it's young business-wise, people are very hesitant. So there's traditionally there would be less experimentation at this moment. But we see that most of these companies are becoming customers of Amazon Web Services, such that they can continue to experiment with new products. And especially from within the enterprise, there's a big push happening at this moment in moving their existing as well as new products into the cloud.
Right, large
big companies, very big companies.
What is the reticence still to do that? Is just their own security, their own?
Well, actually, up till a number of months ago, I would say that the biggest stumbling block for them would be security. I found that in talking to them, it's shifting. They've kind of accepted that the cloud is there and that's a very good mechanism, very good tool for them to build their applications and to be very cost effective. And that they're just going to work with the security that is there. It seems that we've almost satisfied the curiosity there, or the little obstacles that are there. I find that most enterprises, their first question at this moment is, how can I move my existing application into the cloud? What do I need to do? What's the engineering work I need to do? How difficult is it? Can you guys help me become better in that? And then once they've moved into the cloud, their next question is, how can I really start exploiting the good functionality of the cloud? How can it become horizontally scalable? How can I really exploit this one such that I get all the cost savings that I'm looking for? I find that those are the two questions that are on the forefront of most CIOs and CTOs these days.
And what does it take them to move? I mean, because everyone does talk about it as a concept still, I think.
Oh, so for us it was really important to get a number of enterprise partners on board. So Red Hat, Oracle, Sun, Microsoft all delivered their operating systems for us in the cloud. So you can use Windows as well as enterprise Linux from Red Hat or Open Solaris or the Oracle's version of Linux. You can run all of the databases, so SQL Server, Oracle database, Red Hat provides MySQL. No, Sun provides MySQL. And then there's the Oracle Fusion as well as JBoss. All of these technologies run there. So these standard enterprise technologies have all been ported. All these companies have made licensing models such that they make it capable of running it in the cloud. So it makes it relatively easy if your enterprise apps are already using these technologies to then move into the cloud. If you're still reliant on some of the pieces that have not been ported yet, then there is work to do. But for Amazon, we've specifically picked a virtual machine model. So virtualization was something that most enterprises are already familiar with. So it made them easy to move from their existing data centers into the cloud. Right. And we find that maybe there was more myth about moving your apps into the cloud than that many of these companies are actually experiencing. We see a big push, and we see many enterprises moving both existing applications as well as new applications.
And ridding themselves of their own data centers individual data centers that they have that have been sort of built on
I think eventually that's their goal,
yeah.
but mainly I think the first steps are, to no longer have to expand what they have.
Right.
And I think they're pretty successful with that.
And lastly, and I was going to open up to any questions.
Sure.
What about prices? Because ultimately, this is would be a price game on some level. I mean,
I think so,
quality
yes.
is
No,
obviously,
absolutely.
but at some level, the prices have to come down in these ways. How do you look? I mean, 'cause think about the prices of chips. Everything comes down.
Mm-hmm.
When does that become something so prevalent that it becomes prices that are?
So I've always liked to believe that, at least at the hardware side, at Amazon we're really extremely efficient, because this is something we had to do.
You're a retailer.
We retail.
Right.
Well, yeah, we retail, so we had to be. I think there's still a number of areas where we can make progress. Bandwidth pricing is one of them. Earlier this year, our AWS customers had helped us, consume that much more bandwidth that we were capable of negotiating better deals. Then we turned around immediately and lowered the bandwidth pricing for our customers. That's something we continue to do. It's something we've done in retail in the past always. Whatever cost savings we had in technology, we would translate back in lower pricing. It's something that we will continue to do in our web services business also.
Okay, great. Do we have any questions from the crowd? Anybody? So I have a couple more about Amazon retail itself. Any question down here? Can you yell it or get someone a mic? Go ahead. Who was that? So can you just come up?
Well, in the meantime, let me tell you about the data sets that we've put online. It's an announcement that we did, was it 3-4 days ago. There's a large number of very big public data sets that are available. Genome data sets, US Census, and many researchers actually like to do their research and combine it with data from these data sets. And now we've made it very easy for these kind of researchers to actually use these data sets because they're standard available within the EC2 context.
Question?
Yes, it's really good news that now we have EC2 in Europe. And I've read the announcement, and you say that now it achieves the same cost efficiency in Europe and in US with EC2.
The same cost, is that what you said?
Cost efficiency. So almost the same cost, but that's what is rated on the Amazon website. But you still charge traffic between EC2 and S3. So
within Europe, between Europe S3 and Europe EC2, there will be no traffic costs.
Maybe you will have to change the web page.
Yeah, well, okay, then that's a just like in the US, where if you access S3 from within EC2, there will be no bandwidth charges for you. The same goes for the European instance. Yeah, there is indeed a price difference between, but that's obvious because the cost of running data centers here is slightly higher. So coming back to your question, yes, we try to be cost following as much as possible and really drive these costs to the floor where we can do that.
And where do you imagine expanding next? I mean, where are the great data needs?
I don't know. So it really drives what customers are asking us. I think first thing is to add Windows to EC2 in Europe. Customers here have mainly been asking us for Linux instances, so we didn't want to wait with that until we had the whole offering complete. So I think the first thing to launch will be Windows here in Europe, and that should be a matter of months.
And last question, we talked about it backstage. Do you ever imagine there'll be a consumer offering like this, like the idea of living, putting everybody puts things on Flickr and all the various places, but being a single home for, everybody, it's very dissipated and disparate, and a lot of companies are trying to bring them all together. But you imagine Amazon ever offering that kind of, I call it the universal jukebox kind of thing.
I'm not really sure whether Amazon will be the really universal jukebox. Of course, at this moment, you already have My Media Library at Amazon, where you collect many of those goods. We already have a universal wish list, where you can put things in that also are not on Amazon. So we moved to a more universal model there. But of course, mainly from our web services point of view, we're really looking towards our developers and customers to build this application. There's a number of great ones. A very popular one is Dropbox.
Dropbox, yeah.
That actually syncs storage among multiple PCs and Macs and things like that. Very popular app, Jungle Disks. Many customers consumers are really storing all their goods on either Jungle Disk or Dropbox to ensure their security and safety.
And last question I always ask everyone, what's the most exciting device you find this year or technology application yourself?
Myself. Actually, I really love Dropbox.
Dropbox.
Dropbox has actually absolutely solved something for me that was already hard. With having multiple devices all over the place, maintaining storage and version storage is something that was very, very important to me.
Great. Thank you so much, Werner.
So much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Werner, for joining us. Cara, thank you. Are you having fun?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
All the time.
And you're inviting everybody to
Sure.
D conference? Oh, you don't have a mic anymore. Just can you explain what's D?
We do a conference every year with all the big honking internet people, essentially,
Like-
and media people.
Like who?
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, people like that. And we're going to be expanding to Europe. Walt Mossberg, who's my partner, and I will be doing a. We're waiting for approval from News Corp, who are our taskmasters. But we're hoping to expand to Dublin within the next year. To
Not
do a
Paris,
conference. Not Paris, no. We're going to go to Dublin because of its technology. A lot of the technology companies are up there, and they're also a sponsor of our American conference. But this year is really great. We're having all the major cell phone people there, the CEO of RIM, the CEO of AT&T, the CEO of Nokia. We're probably going to have someone from Microsoft and Apple back again, some high-ranking people, and probably have one of the major network people. And in an interesting sort of, we're having the two people, the chairman and CEO of Mozilla, which should be interesting. And I'm trying to think of people we have approved. And we're also
People we have approved there.
Yeah, approved. No, that have said they're coming. And we're having someone who should be really interesting, Eve Ensler, who did the vagina monologues. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's well known across the globe. She's leading a really interesting fight right now in the Congo over coltane, which is an element in all cell phones. And we're going to put her next to the cell phone CEOs and see how that goes.
Well,
So,
that's.
yeah.
I was lucky. Don't move. Don't move.
Oh.
I was lucky enough to be invited to your conference, and thank you. It was very, very impressive.
Thank
know,
you.
very.
Thank you.
And so you have a blog just to finish with as well,
Oh,
so which is
all
called Boomtown.
It's called Boomtown, and it's on the All Things D site. I know Werner has All Things Distributed. Ours is called All Things Digital, and it's a partnership between Walt Mossberg and I. And Walt's a very well-known technology reviewer. I write a column called Boomtown. Mostly, it's about Yahoo layoffs these days, unfortunately. And we write about all sorts of things. We have a New York reporter. We just hired Peter Kafka, who covers media and advertising.
But these are journalists. Would you define yourself as a
Journalists.
blogger or as a journalist?
Well, bloggers are journalists.
Ah,
Don't insult bloggers.
I'm just trying.
I think that we're trying to bring, just right now, the Pulitzer Prize Committee has agreed to consider online submissions, for example, this year after ignoring the internet for so many years as if it didn't exist. So we're very determined to have standardized original reporting, breaking news. We compete with the
Quality.
Standards-based.
You compete with
We compete with the Wall Street Journal, and
I love it.
And
you know,
we're trying to do something experimental in the Dow Jones universe. A very small outfit. It works from my office in San Francisco, from my home office, and everybody works virtually. We don't have any offices. Our costs are really low. So we're trying to pioneer a new form of journalism.
And that's your big TV camera, right?
Yes,
You have right there.
yeah, this is my equipment. And we're trying to show that you can do really high-level, high-quality journalism and not have to spend a lot of money, and we can still get the same results. So we're trying. It's a little popcorn stand.
Well, thank you so much for
but,
joining us this
anyway,
year. I hope you had the fun.
Yes, I did.
It's a bit warmer today,
It's
right?
lovely, and the internet connections. I got someone Twittered that said I was an arrogant American for wanting to be warm and have an internet connection. You know, I may ask for coffee next, but you know how we are.
Well, thank you very much,
But anyway,
Carl.
thank you. It's been a great conference.
I hope you come back next
people.
year.
Absolutely, and you've done a great job. It's really interesting.
Oh, thank you,
Thanks for all
Cara.
the-
Thank you very much, Cara.